Hi guys, welcome back. This is the second video tutorial of Core Java. The first video we discussed about what is Java and what is the necessary of using any programming like Java, and what are the features of Java, and how to install the software, and how to do the path and class path, and running a sample program. Apart from that, we also gone through like how to install IDEs like Eclipse or NetBeans. So there is no installation required for Eclipse as I discussed in previous video. So I just downloaded the Eclipse for you, and here is the Eclipse folder. I just extracted it. So as I mentioned, we don't need to install this software particularly. We can directly go to this folder, and you can directly double click on Eclipse exe file. It's actually runnable file. It won't ask for installation. So for now I'm choosing the default directory. So this is the home page of Eclipse, and this will actually shows like how to create a new JW new project, and this kind of uh, uh, docs it is giving, like the brief docs about what it can do, and don't want to show every time, so I just check the checkbox and I just closing this. So this is the window I'll be getting here. So the same sample program, if we need to execute in IDE, so earlier we executed in Notepad and we executed the Java program using command prompt, right? So now I'm actually doing the same program in IDE, which is Eclipse. So I'll just need to right click on it, and I have to choose new project. So there will be a list of options I'll be getting. So Java project I'm looking. So if it is, see, you can see different types of projects. So suppose Java, you have Java project, and Java EE, you have application client project and connection project, and a different projects you can see. And EJB is also there. And if you want normal project, empty project, you can able to create this one. Different projects you have. Once you have installed, we can you can go through it, and you can get to know all the possible development over here. And for developing web applications using Java, there is a web folder. This is the important one, and we have to use dynamic web application. With that, you can able to develop web-based applications using JSP or JSF or any framework you can use, and you can able to develop servlets and all. You can able to develop here. So currently I'm not developing web application. Currently I'm just running sample program. For that, this Java project will be fine, which is comes under Java folder. So this Java project will be fine for me. I'll be choosing that. And here I'm giving the project name as some test project. So I'm giving next. So here the default SDK, whatever it is, it will actually choose, and it is actually allows more than 1.8. So, and you don't need to do anything else over here. You just need to enter the project name and click on next. And here it will show the package name by default SRC. That will be fine for us. Just finish. So once you done with the inputs, giving inputs to the new project, then it will actually ask for open perspective. The term perspective is means that, suppose if you are developing standalone application. So now we are actually developing standalone application, which is a sample Java file we are running. So that's called that comes under standalone application. So here it is actually what are the type of project you are choosing. Suppose for standalone application, there is no server details and all required. Only the package and console are required. Suppose if you are developing any web application, there you may need package structure along with the console, along with the server details as well. You'll get to know once I open the perspective. So currently standalone application I'm creating. So open perspective. So which will actually show what and all required for developing standalone Java application. So this is a package explorer. Here we will be having our project file, and these are SRC and the JDK whatever is used, and the task list. And this we don't need now, and outline we don't need now, and problems. If any problems in the code, so it will actually list out here itself. So any issues if you're building the project, so it will actually list out here. So Java doc will be here, and any declarations you have, it will be listed over here. So I'll be creating sample Java class. So for that, I'm just right clicking on SRC where you want to create a new file and choose new, and you can choose it's a class file. If you want to create interface and all, you can have different options over here. So for now, I'll be creating new class, and the package I'm giving any package you can give it. I'll explain you what is package and all later. For now, you can remember is as com.test. So the class name as we implemented earlier, the class name I'm declaring as same sample. So it behave as sample.java. So nothing else I required. Or if you want to create public static void main, you can check this, and it will actually add public static void main in the class itself. So for now I'm just unchecking. I'll do it manually. And for each class in Java, whatever the class you declare or whatever the class you wrote or everything, there is a parent class that is a common for all the classes in entire Java classes, and that is called object class. That is what it is showing here, superclass. These details we can discuss in inheritance concept once we get into the um, object-oriented programming topics. At that time it will cover actually. So sample class and modifiers I'll be declaring as public. So the package I'm giving test package. Superclass by default it will be object. If you want to mention some other thing, you can able to mention here, or you can able to browse even. So that we can discuss it later. That's very early to discuss now. So I'm just finishing it. So this is a sample class I have created, and now I'll be creating main method. So public. See, if you can see, there is a difference between IDE and manual typing. See the colors of each uh, type of the keyword which we are using in our class. Suppose if it is notepad, it looks like same, so you won't see any difference actually. Suppose if you misspell out, then it will actually easily identify here. Suppose if I misspell out here public instead of public, if I type public, so it is actually showing what is this, I don't understand this. It is showing as unknown keyword. So these are we can easily identify, and we can rectify our typo issues, and we can code it continuously. And these are one way, and there will be a lot of shortcuts we'll be using IDEs, so that will actually saves a lot of time. I'll tell you this way. Suppose if you have this main method, so I don't need to type the whole method like this. I just need to type main. Then I'll just click on control space. Control space is a shortcut for auto populating uh, any inputs from IDE. Suppose I'll be clicking on control space. It will actually showing main method. So the right side you can able to see what is the declaration of main method, how it looks like actually. I'm just clicking on it because it is a default method. It comes auto populated. So that's it. How much time it took. So if you're typing manually, that took a lot of time. So this is the time saving thing. And the statement is about printing hello world. So how to print that using system dot out dot println. system. Suppose if you don't remember the complete spelling of the class name, then you just need to click on control space, and it will show system and the full details where it is actually in which package it is. As I mentioned, the system is a predefined class. Predefined class comes under java.lang, and it is actually belongs to rt.jar, which is under Java predefined libraries. So I'm just clicking on it. Dot. See, once I click on dot, immediately it is auto-populating. What and all methods are available there, and how to we can directly choose our method and we can use it. I need system dot out dot, and once you enter the dot, then it will automatically populate. Print, println. So we'll get to know all these methods once we get into the more details. Then we get into the. I'll explain you all these methods. You don't need to worry now. For now, we just need to print hello world. That's it. So I'm done with this. I'm done with the programming of sample.java in IDE Eclipse. So how to execute this? Do I need to go to command prompt? Is it required? No, actually, it's not required. So we just need to execute this program here itself. We can able to see the output also. The way to do this is just go to the file, right click on it, and see run options. There will be different options are there. If you want to copy the file, you can able to do. If you want to delete the file, you can able to do. And build path and all we'll discuss later. Uh, and if you want to run the application, so run as server, so run as Java application. There are two options you can see. Run on server when it will comes, if it is a web application, if you have the embedded server, or if you have any server to be configured in your project, then you have to choose run on server. So this is not a web application, this is a standalone application. We just need to run as Java application. That's it. See, here's the output. It comes under console, and it is showing which where it is the program files Java JRE. It is chosen, and it is executed the program, and you will be getting output as hello world. I'll change the output here. Hello Java. Just there are two ways you can able to run the program. Either you need to right click on here, run as Java application, or in the same file where the main method exists, you can right click on it and you can run as Java application. It won't populate here web application. See, the reason is like it is a straightly, it is actually looking into the file, it is actually populating suggested options. If it is a project, so it is actually thinking like there is a possibility having a server also. So if you are directly pointing and right click on exact file, then it is actually checking which options it is actually show. It is not showing server option here. It is showing only Java application option here. You just need to run it here. So if you observe properly, there's one thing we are not doing. There's one thing we are not doing. The thing is like Java compilation we are not doing here. Correct? So, and we are not able to see the .loss file as well. There are two things are missing here. One, we are not Java compilation we are not doing, and the .loss file also it's not listed over here. So the reason is the compilation. Once you click on Java run as Java application, the IDE itself it will take care of compilation of program, and it will actually keep the .loss file in secured package. It won't appear here because it is not necessary. Whatever is necessary it will show here. If it is not necessary, it will actually it will actually hide the file, and it will show only source files. The files will be exist over there. So once you run the program, it is actually execute the file, and it will actually output whatever you want. So for changing it will be easy, for executing re-executing it will be easy. But in case of notepad, you have to type once you change the code, then you have to compile it, and again you have to run it. Until unless if you're not compiled, the previous output only it will get. So here the compilation and running the application both will happen simultaneously by default with the IDE. You just need to click on, right click on, and run as Java application. That's only the thing you have to do. So these about using IDE for developing basic Java application. So in further tutorials, we'll be using Eclipse IDE for that for all our development. It's your wish to download NetBeans as well, and you can able to develop over there. There's not much difference between NetBeans and IDE. The only reason I have chosen Eclipse is like I don't need to install the software, so it will be lightweighted compared to NetBeans. Um, that's it, and we can go back to our other topics. So our topics is today about, let me open the PPT and we can see what we are going to cover today. So today we are going to cover Java variables, data types, and operators. These are all the very much important topics in Java. It is actually required to remember all these things when you are writing coding. That makes a lot of sense to creating each variable and data type, and when actually required what kind of data type. This is actually very important session. So we can go through one by one. First, we can look at Java variables. So what is a variable? Variable is a placeholder. Suppose if you are declaring int 10, for that 10 we need some space in our machine. So if you are declaring on, if you are writing any Java program, and if you are declaring any variable as int data 10, that 10 needs to be stored in system memory somewhere. It has to store. Uh, so it is actually using RAM, and it is storing this 10 value, and there is a reserved area will be there, and this will be named with some hexadecimal code. It might be 4x00576 something, some random memory allocation will be there. That is actually called as address for that data variable. And we have different types of variables available in Java. There are different ways. Suppose if you have a if you have a class, so there will be different types of data variables we have. One is called local variable, instance variable, and static variable. So what is local variable? So before going that, if you are declaring, if you see the below class, these are almost looking like a sample class, right? So if there is a class A, if you declare inside a class outside a method, this is actually inside a class and outside any method, this is called as instance variable. So static variable. So if you declare a variable inside a class outside a method with static keyword is called as static variable. So there is a variable declared inside a method. The name is method. That is called as local variable. So there, if you declare any variable inside a method, it is called as local variable. Have you got the point, right? So declaring a variable inside a class is called inside a class, and outside a method instance variable. Inside a class outside a method with static keyword called as static variable, and inside a method if you declare, that is called local variable. There are a lot of things to discuss about these variables, and what and all possible data types we have to declare in these all these scenarios, and we can discuss these topics later. And for now, these are very basic concept about types of variables and how to declare a variable, what it called. If you the place where you declare, that is referred as different names, like how it is showing. So data types in Java. Suppose the previous slide we have seen only integer type. It is declared in different ways, and not only the integer. If I want to store any name of the person or age of the person, we can use integer variable. If I want to use name of the person, then we have to use string variable. And if you want to use any floating points, suppose some division happens and you got the some number which is about 10.27 or 10.28, these number if you want to store, that have different data type, that is called float. So if you have larger number, for larger numbers you will be having long or double. So we can see all the details now. So there are different data types are there, which is actually categorized into two parts. One is primitive data type and non-primitive data type. Primitive data types comes under Boolean and numeric. And the Boolean is having only one child, which is Boolean, which will actually accept only true or false. Only these two values it will accept, true or false in the Boolean. And in primitive type, there is other category called numeric, which is actually taking two categories, character and integer. Under character, there is only one child. It is called char. So what are the names we are declaring here? That is exact keyword we have to use it in the coding. Suppose if you see int over here, so we have to use int keyword over there. It's same as like all these keywords we can directly use it in our programming. So for character, only one char is there. It will actually allow only one character, either uh, the capital letter or small letter. Only one character it will allow. A, B, C, D, anything. Only one character it will allow. So I'm coming to integral. There is an integer and a floating point. There are two variants available. And comes to integer, there are four types of available: byte, short, int, long. Byte is the smallest size of the element it will store, and um, the the size of the byte is only 1 byte actually. And the short will be the little bit bigger than byte. It will take a little bit bigger storage elements in short data type. And integer element, we can have the detailed table for this data types, which data type will actually take what exact amount of size in the memory. We can see it later. So int we have, if it is more than, it is a bigger number than int, then it will go to long. The same way, floating point, we have two things. One is float and double. Float, as we discussed, like if you have any decimal values like 10.28 or something, so you can store it in float. If it is a very big decimal number, then you can use double. And there are non-primitive data types available, or apart from these primitive data types. Those are string and array. String, just we discussed, like if you want to store any name or any string, particular very big string or paragraph or something, you can use a string variable for that. Array is a non-primitive data type which is actually stores uh, same type of consecutive elements. You can able to store it, and the arrays is a different topic, we can see it later. And it is actually holds set of values. Suppose if you want to store uh, 10 names in one data type, that case you can use it as array. Suppose or 10 different numbers you want to keep it in one variable, that way you can use it as array. We can see the arrays later in detail. So now we have seen the what are the different types of data types available in Java. Now we can see what is the sizes for each data type. So here we'll be having what will be the data type and the default value. If you're not assigning anything to that variable, so what will be the default value will be assigned by the compiler, and the default size for each data type. So it's unlike C programming. It's like if you're not assigning, so it won't give it as null or um, null values or something. So here in Java, by default, it will have default values with the meaningful values actually. So suppose if you see Boolean, it's by default it's stored as false, and character, this is a Unicode. I'll explain this topic later. And next slide maybe. um, for character it has to take one character actually. It should be like 1 byte will be sufficient for this. But what is this different string, I'll explain you in the uh, next slide. Why it is taking 2 bytes, what is the necessary of having for storing one character, why it is taking 2 bytes, and we'll discuss in next topic, which is Unicode topic. I'll tell you. So for byte, the default will be 0. For short, the default will be 0. And int, the default values will be 0. And long, 0 L. So for long data type, whatever the value, even if you're declaring, so you have to mention L letter for the data type. Otherwise, it will throw error. It's a compilation error. For float, it's optional to declare F actually. If you wish, you can able to add it. For double, you have to declare D. That's a standards Java is having. We have to follow few things. And we can see the default size for each data type. For Boolean, it will be 1 bit. For character, it is 2 byte. The reason why it is taking 2 byte, we can discuss in Unicode topic. And the byte, it is taking only 1 byte. For short, it is taking 2 bytes. For int, it is taking 4 byte. For long, it is taking 8 byte. For float, it is taking 4 byte. And for double, it is taking 8 byte. So these are all the different data types we have, and these the default size. These not mandate to remember all the default sizes for each data type, but it's good to remember. The reason is like if you're writing any critical programming, and until unless if you're suppose if for storing one value, if you're using long, there is no meaning actually. You can directly use byte, short, or int. These three will be sufficient enough. So you don't need to use long for storing the number one actually. So that will actually saves memory. So in terms of performance point of view, if you're more concerned about, then you need to remember these default sizes. And default values, you don't need to bother about it. You just need to declare your value. The compiler will take care of the default values. And these things, default size, it's good to remember. So the next will be we have to discuss about the Unicode. What this looks different, right? What is this and why actually required? Character is required 2 bytes. So there is a problem in the standard character. Actually, C or C++ uses different mechanism. We can see it in next slide. So what is Unicode system? Unicode is a universal international standard character encoding. It is a character encoding system, and it is the reason why Java chooses Unicode instead of ASCII, because a lot of programming languages are using ASCII as a encoding system. So the reason is like there is a problem with the ASCII. Suppose if you're executing, suppose as I mentioned, suppose a particular code value for corresponding different letters, there is language standards. It means that suppose if you have the same value for running in different platforms, so that might works differently. Suppose floating, if you take, so that might the value might change, not the numeric value. The decimal values might change a little bit, depends on the OS you have. So because of that issue resolving, so they have chosen Unicode, which will actually take 2 bytes for that. And if you see in the previous slide, and this will be the starting value, and the slash u 0000, and the ending value will be slash u ff capital ff instead of zeros. That will be the ending value. By default, it took 2 character. So that's about Unicode system. So what are the different operators we have in Java for even for doing any mathematical calculation or any kind of calculation? So we need some operators. Suppose if you want to add any two numbers, you have to use plus operator for that, addition operator for that. And if you want to subtract something, so you have to use subtraction operator, which is minus. So how actually Java uses operators, and what kind of enhancements they did in terms of operators. We'll see the details now. So these are all the different types of operators we have. I'll open the slide properly, otherwise we're not able to see all the operators. Yeah. So if you see here, unary operator. Unary operator is what the increment or decrement operators. This is the postfix and prefix. And once we started coding, then we can practically see how it actually works. Suppose if you want to increase any value and periodically, suppose if you are running a loop, then you want to increase any value, then you can use uh, postfix incremental operator. This is called decremental operator, and these postfix and prefix. These differences I'll explain you when we started coding. The difference is like for theoretically, the difference will be like this will execute after the statement got executed, and this will suppose if you have I equal to 0, this once you execute the statement postfix, after the statement got executed, the value got incremented. This will happen reverse. This the value got incremented first, then the statement got executed. I'll explain you in a coding way that makes a lot of sense for you. And arithmetic operators we have these called multiplication, division, and modular, and additive operators plus and minus, and shift operators we have. I'll explain shift operators. It's good to have a separate session for this, having shift operators, and comparison operators, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, an instance of. Instance of is works as suppose if you have a class and you have created an object. So if you have an object, if you don't know which class it belongs to, and you want to compare whether this object belongs to this class or not, that way you will be using instance of operator. And equality operator, unlike our mathematical operations, we have to use double equality here. Suppose in if you're writing any mathematical exams or mathematical way, you have to use single equal to for comparing two values. But in any programming language, not only in Java, in any programming language, we have to use double equal to compare two values, any two values. Suppose if you are checking two integer values, whether both are equal or not, you have to use double equal to. If you're using single equal to, that's called assignment operator. And not equal. Not equal will look like this. Bitwise operator, bitwise on, bitwise or, and exclusive or. And these bitwise operators and shift operators will be having a separate session for that, and we'll discuss over there how actually those uses. Logical and, suppose if you want to execute both the conditions, and that way you'll be using logical and operator, and logical or. If you want to execute both the conditions, you want to check only if one is true is fine. That way we'll be using the logical or. And ternary operator will actually special operator introduced in Java that actually works as suppose if you're writing so many if conditions and if else case, if you have any situation where you have to write if condition and else case, to make it easy and to make it code simple, so we can use ternary operator. And I can discuss this topic when we are coding on if statement, if else statements, like control statement. Maybe the next session will be the control statement it will cover. There I'll discuss this one. And there are different special operators we have in Java apart from the regular operators. This is called assignment, this everybody knows, and this is called plus equal to. Uh, that's mentioned as assignment, increment plus assignment, and it will actually add the right side value to the left side value, and it will actually um, plus it will make the addition, then it will actually assign it. It will the same way subtraction first, and it will actually assign that value. Into equal to is multiplication first, then it will actually assign the value. So these kind of operators are available, and for left shift and right shift operators also we have this feature. So these about today's tutorial, and we can actually, the next tutorial might be the programming tutorial. From there we can continuously we can code, and we get to know I think I'm also not much interested in PPT sessions and all, and we can start coding from next tutorial onwards. That is the reason I minimize the PPTs to two slides, two videos itself. So from next video onwards, we can look into this, and we need to work on more in Eclipse itself. That's it for today. Thank you.